Hello again, everybody. I'm so glad you joined me today again. Today is kind of our continuation, step 2 of what we did last week. Last week, we were able to make these really cool bottles right here with the etching. Move my hand so you can see it. In it, I showed you how to do glass. But so today I wanted to have a little carrier. This is a really cool economic way to drink your water every day, but I wanted to create some way to hold it because this is really cumbersome to carry around with you, right? So I made this little bag. Isn't this awesome? It's got a strap on it, and I made it out of our splash fabric that we've brought in before, and it's waterproof fabric. If you get anything on it, it just wipes right off. If you join us in in February and March here at So Fun, any of our classes, we are bringing in a bunch more colors and designs of this new splash fabric. So join us at So Fun if you can. Okay, so I'm going to teach you how to make this little carrier for your cool water bottle. You can actually make this carrier for any water bottle that you have and make it any size. But today I'm just going to show you how to do this simple one. The first thing that we're going to do is you need your bottle. And what I did is I got my handy dandy little tape measure out here, and I measured the circumference of my bottle. It is 8 inches here. Okay, right there, it's 8 inches. And then I took my tape measure and I wanted to go, you can see how it's right here just above the bottle there. And so I'm going to take my measuring tape and go all the way around. And that is about 17 and a half inches right there. Okay, so now that I've got my basic measurements of the outside of the bottle all the way around here and the circumference of my bottle, what I did is I added an inch to all my measurements. I added an inch to the circumference and I added an inch to the outside measurement of my bottle, which made my piece, ta-da! I cut it out already. It made my piece 9 inches by 18 inches. Okay, so I've got my piece of fabric right here. I'm going to set my ruler aside right there, my measuring tape. And I've got it right side up, my fabric right here, and I'm going to fold it like a hot dog. This is hot dog, this is hamburger. Okay, we're going to fold it like a hot dog. Bloop, right like that. Okay, and I am going to start sewing on the side that has the fold on it. But before I do that, I'm going to take a friction pen, just like this. The reason why I'm using a friction pen is because it will fade. The ink will disappear once you add a little bit of iron, of heat to it. Okay, so I'm going to go in about an inch and a half, well, an inch, and I'm going to mark on my fabric an inch in here. Then I'm going to go from this edge and I'm going to mark about an inch in here. And the reason why, well, I think I'll do more like an inch and a half. Right like that. I'm going to bring it in a little bit more. The reason why we're going to do this is because we're going to leave that little spot open. That is going to be how we're going to flip our little hot dog fabric back outside of itself. So we're going to head on over to the machine over here. I'm going to take my fabric with me. I'm going to turn around here. And we are using the FOF Expression 710. And I'm going to show you one of the main reasons why I love the FOF. When you do stitching and sewing and you have to turn corners, this is my favorite reason why I love it. I have programmed my machine that when I start, it will automatically start with a knot, and when I press this button right here, it will end with a knot and cut it. That is another thing that I love about this machine. I have it at 1/4 inch. I've allowed 1/4 inch all around in my fabric. You can see it's starting with a knot. I'm going to go down to my second line that I decided on. And I'm going to press my button. Going to put a nice knot, and it's going to cut it for me. Fabulous. Okay. We're going to start it up again. About right there. Starting with the knot. Okay, we're coming up on my favorite part of this machine. Okay, what's cool is I'm not sure exactly how far away I need to have my last stitch here before I need to flip it to the other side. So when I stop it, did you see how the foot pedal just lifts up just a tiny bit? It lifts up just a little bit, and it does that so it allows you to flip the fabric just like that. I am way off of my 1/4 of an inch. I need another stitch or two. So with my foot pedal, I'm going to tell the machine that I need just one more stitch. So I am going to, oh, maybe I was a little excited about that. I overstitched it. So you know what I do? When I overstitch it, I'm wearing high heels. So I don't usually sew in high heels. So that makes a difference. I'm going to press the down button that tells the foot to go down. I'm going to press that one time. Check it out. It lifts it just a tiny bit. If I push it all the way up, it goes way far up, and I can't tell where my stitches or my needle is going to go when it is that far up there. Okay, I'm going to set it down one more time. And if I press it one more time, it does a little tiny half lift. That way I can back it up where I need it to be. And I just tapped the pedal, and I'm going to tap it one more time. I'm going to tap it one more time. And did you see how it lifted the pedal? And I slide it, and it's a 1/4 of an inch. Yay! It's where I need it to be. So I'm going to continue to sew down this long seam. I'm going to check my seams down here, make sure that they are nice and straight. Just going to quickly, guess I can't sew that fast. Quickly and easily stitch down here. Okay, let's check it and see if we're the right length. Nope, we're at least one stitch away. Okay, let's check it. Perfect. Let's go. I am about one stitch length away from the end of where I want to be, so I'm going to press my button, and it is going to end that on the last stitch that I want to do. It knotted it, and it cut it, and voila. Okay, we're going to move back over here to our little ironing board, or ironing mat. It's not a board, it's just a little mat. And I'm going to show you our next step to make a little fitted bottom. So we are actually going to pull the fabric right in the middle. It feels like origami that I used to do when I was a little kid. So we're going to pull the sides out, which will make our corners want to turn into a little triangle. Right like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take it over to the machine, and I'm going to put the very tip of my triangle right there at the 1 inch mark. Oh, before we go over there, you probably want to know how I decided to do 1 inches. Well, I looked at the bottom of my little bottle here, and I kind of measured it across like this, and I figured, oh, I kind of eyeballed it, I will admit. So I measured the whole width of the bottom, which was about 2.5 inches, and I wanted that little triangle to come in, and I figured, oh, about 1 inch will give it plenty of space to work with. So I made that little triangle 1 inch. And if you have a bigger bottom, maybe if your bottom of your water bottle measures more like 4 inches because it's a bigger water bottle, maybe you would want to bring it in maybe 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches. That is just a little bit less than half the diameter of your circle there. Okay, so that's how I guesstimated the bottom, and it worked fabulous. Okay, we're gonna head over to the machine now. And my tip of the point, my triangle that I'm gonna make on this side is right at the 1 inch mark. I'm gonna put it in here. I'm gonna stitch right across the bottom and tell it to stop and put a knot and cut my fabric right there. Okay, we're gonna flip it right over to the other side. And we're gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna open that fabric to make our little corner or triangle. And at this point, I'm gonna make sure that the seam is going the same way. I wanna make sure that I don't do that because then you'll have this weird bulkiness down there in the bottom of that seam. And on this side, you can feel if the back and the front seams are together. You want to make sure those are together. I'm going to slide it underneath my machine here. The tip is at the 1 inch mark again, right there. I'm going to set it in there. I'm going to hold that, make sure that seam doesn't flip up there. And it's cutting and knotting just like that. Ta-da! Okay, and then we're going to flip it over to the other side and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And if you have a bigger circumference of water bottle, maybe your hole is going to be a little bit bigger because you need more fabric, but usually not. Okay, in this case, I'm going to turn it over so I can see those marks of where I started and where I stopped. Because I want to make sure that I don't accidentally try to make that triangle on the opposite side of where the stitching stopped. I want to make sure that my seam goes right through the stitching and not on the other side. If that makes sense. Okay, we're going to slide this in here. So, where it is about 1 inch. Ta-da, that was perfect. About 1 inch right there. A little bit less than an inch, but it's okay because this part is going to go inside of the little bag. So you're not going to see this part anyways. It will go inside the bag. Okay, flip it over to the other side now. And once again, we're going to make sure that that seam goes the same way. I'm going to set it down. Right at that 1 inch mark. We're going to tell it to end right at the back right there. Okay, beautiful. It's coming out great. So now you've got like this sock thing. We're going to move back over to the little pressing board here. So I can show you what to do next. We've got this little tube thingy, and now we're going to flip it. This is more like a little balloon because it's the waterproof fabric that's been laminated, so the air doesn't squeeze through it as easily as it would with just regular old cotton. It's kind of fun. All right, we're going to flip that whole little sock thing tube that we've just made. It's going to be great. I'm going to grab my OESD point and press tool here, and I'm going to send it inside, and it's going to help me find all my little corners like this. And here. And here. Okay. So this one is good to go. But now we've got this little this little open hole. So what are we going to do with that? We are going to make sure those little edges are curling inside that 1/4 inch of where we stitched it. I'm going to finger press those 2 edges together. We're going to take it over to the machine and we're going to sew it at about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. So it's just a tiny, tiny little seam. So we're going to bring it over here. I'm going to use my point and press tool so my fingers stay out of the way. And 1/8 of an inch is the little tiny red mark that's just outside of where the needle is. And we are just going to stitch right down that little hole. And we'll stop it just like that. Okay, and because these are going to be seen, I'm going to trim these little tails that we left with our stitching. And this does go inside, so we're going to move back over to the little ironing board or pressing mat, whichever you like to call it. Okay, so I'm going to grab this little seam that we just made, and I am going to push it all the way down to the bottom. See, it looks like a little balloon. So funny. So great and waterproof. Let me tell you how nice it is. I'm going to take it all the way down to the bottom, and I'm going to pinch the bottom seam that is inside and outside our little bag right here. And I'm going to just kind of make sure that the outside and the inside are nice and even. Going to fluff it all out inside. And the best way to make sure that it is where we need it to be is to take your bottle and slide it right inside. Because we gave it an inch, we used up 1/2 inch for seam allowance, and then we used another 1/2 of that inch was for ease of getting the bottle in and out of the little bag right there. Okay, so it looks perfect. Look at that. Look at how great that was. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? Okay, we're going to set that aside. I'm going to fold it in half along the seam right there, so I can find the other side, the middle on the other side right there. I'm going to take my, maybe if I can get it out of here, my friction pen again, and I'm going to make a little mark in the middle of my fabric right there. And now I have marked the middle of my fabric here, and then I just use the seam on this side as the middle mark right there for our little handle. Now this the webbing that I'm using is some Tula Pink webbing. I really loved how bright and fun and cheery this was. I think she made it to go with her goldfish line of fabric, and it's super cute. So I grabbed some of that. It has 2 yards of webbing in it, and so I just folded it right in half, and so each of the webbing is exactly 1 yard a piece, and you can see how the ends are raw like this. What you do is you can take, well, first you want to trim these crazies off right there. Trim anything extra off, because then it just makes this weird kind of crazy melted art stuff, and it's not very fun to sew over. So I have my lighter here, and you've probably seen this done a million times, but we're going to go over it anyways. If I can start my lighter here, there we go. You merely just melt the ends, so they start like that. You've set the ends of your webbing. So this one is already set right here. I also brought in some Steam-A-Seam 2 fusible tape, which is really cool. I'm going to set that right there. What I really love about this tape and the fusible itself is that it's sticky. Even before you iron it, you can kind of preview what your item is going to look like because it is sticky. I'm just going to put a little piece of the fusible right there. When you go to iron it, it just stays in place. It is glorious. So I'm putting a little piece of tape on each side. And this is because we're going to go to the machine in a minute here, and we are going to iron this on. Whenever you're working with anything that's fusible, you're going to want some sort of a non-stick pressing cloth. So that's what I brought in here. This is a non-stick pressing cloth. And I'm going to take my little iron here, and I'm going to iron that on right like that. I'm going to flip it to the other side, and I'm going to iron that on. The reason why you want to use a non-stick pressing cloth when you're using fusibles, especially tape, is because sometimes it can kind of eke over the side, and you don't want that sticky on your iron itself. So that's to prevent any sticky from going onto your iron or melting things you don't want it to do. So if you let it cool for a minute, that's when it comes off really well. Okay, nice and cool. Then we're going to peel off one side and take our webbing. I'm going to feel where the end of the webbing stops, which is right about there. I'm going to take my handy dandy pressing cloth, and we're going to press this on. I'm going to press that and press it. Now we're going through a lot of layers right now. Our webbing is really thick, so I'm going to just let it sit here for a second and let that heat dissipate all the way down into the sorry, I can't talk right now. The web, and then all the way down to the sticky, down to our splash fabric. And the splash fabric, because it's laminate and it repels things, it doesn't want to stick super great. So we got to give it a minute. Okay. Gonna give it a second, let it cool down. Woo, look at that. How cool, huh? Okay. Gonna flip it over to the other side and peel off our other sticky. Now, when you put this on here, make sure that you don't twist your webbing. So it is going to be the same. It's going to be all the same way. I almost made that mistake. So I'm also going to feel underneath the fabric and make sure that this edge is going to align up with the edge underneath. So it's matchy-matchy. It looks nice underneath. I'm going to take my pressing cloth one more time. We're almost done. Can you believe it? You'll have these little fun carrying cases in no time. And in fact, look at what a beautiful blank canvas that is right there. You can put, you can go onto your scan and cut and put somebody's name or like a monogram onto there. I have seen people add like onto the edges here little loops for keychains. I even saw one tutorial where they had a cell phone case, like a zippered cell phone case stuck on the front of it. It's a little small. These are a little small for that, but like a bigger water bottle, how cool would that be? Maybe that, if you guys leave a comment down below, I'll figure out how to do that one too. Okay, we're giving it a second to cool down because when it's still hot, the glue still wants to move. So when you give it a second and let it cool down, it sticks right to it. Okay, now we're going to take this, now that our bands are on both sides, we're going to take it over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch it in place. And you'll see why I taped it and glued it on first. Okay, come over to the machine over here. In order to get this in here, notice I only did about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter of here because it's really hard to get all of this bulky tininess underneath the machine. I'm going to use my point and press tool because I will need help. Okay, here, go ahead and take your time and be fussy with your fabric. You can see all the fabric underneath here. You don't want to get that caught in the stitching that's going to be at the top here. I'm going to move this in, and we are going to do a little box with an X in the middle, and I'll show you how to do that. So it has some really good support, so you know that your straps are not going to get ripped off if you have like a lot of weight, a lot of water in your water bottle. And it's a glass water bottle too, so that adds a lot of weight to it. Okay, I'm going to tap it one more time and tell it to stay down. I'm going to turn here and go across the bottom. One more. Okay, and from this bottom corner, we're going to go across the middle up to the other corner. And how we're going to do that is we're going to angle the needle and its little shoot here, and we're going to angle it right at this corner where I want to end. Across the middle here, give it 2 more stitches, and we're perfectly even with that other side. We're going to flip it over here. All the meantime, making sure that we are not catching this under fabric there. We're going to go straight across the top now. And pause right there. We're going to flip it, make sure that we don't have any extra fabric where it's not supposed to be. We're going to angle this needle to that corner. One more stitch. Perfect. We're going to flip it again. We're going to follow what the stitching that we already put there. One more stitch. Perfect. And then we are going to just finish that row up right like that. Had I thought about this in advance, I would have used like black thread so you could really see this. Sorry about that. Hopefully you can get an idea of how to do the box with an X in the middle of it. Like always, trim as you go. We're going to trim off those ends, right like that. The reason why we did the tape is because you want to keep your webbing right in that place. It's such a tiny, small area to work with that we needed it to stay and stick to our fabric without much fuss, because we have to fuss with the fabric a lot. Okay, now let's do it one more time. We're going to make sure that all of our fabric is out of the way as we slide it in here. Review. I won't have to talk about it as much. You can just watch as we go. Starting with a knot, down to the end, across the bottom, up to the far corner, across the top. I went a little too far, so I'm going to retrace my steps just a bit. There we go. With that cool feature button to just half lift the foot. Okay, down to the other corner. One more stitch. There we go. Retrace our steps, or our stitches in this case, across the bottom. One more stitch. One more stitch up like this. Now that we are finished, right like that. Oh, I love that feature. I love how it cuts and knots it all at that press. You know what's really cool is it takes a second or two for it to cut or to knot it and then cut it. And in that time frame, I have found that I can like trim other little ends or grab the next tool that I need or something, which is really cool. When you get used to that second or two, it'll really save you to do a next step. Okay, let's move back over to our little pressing cloth over here. And voila, we are done. All we need to do now is put our bottle in. Are you ready? The moment of truth. Dun, dun, dun. Is it going to fit? It it fits. And just like that, we have an awesome little carrying case for our glass water bottle. Oh, we have a question. What's the name of the fabric? Oh, good question. This is called Splash Fabric. And this is just one of our, the plain bluish colors. This one is called Lupine. But in February and March, the gals are going to bring in some florals. I know in March, they're going to bring in ones with little lambs and bunnies on them. And I'm so excited about those. Those are so cute for the Easter season. So, okay, if there's any more questions, I hope that you have a fun time making your own water bottle carriers that make being hydrated even more fun and easy. We will see you next Tuesday on Quality Sewing and Vacuums. How do I?